Hey everybody, my name is Charles and this is the Home Depot app-controlled ultra posable skeleton. I don't remember the exact name of him, but that's what he is. And he's got one big problem, and that's the audio on this thing. This tiny little 3-inch speaker is woefully underpowered and very tinny and hard to make out. And we're gonna fix that today. Now there's a wonderful write-up on a Facebook group, and then there was a Google document made. We're gonna follow that, where someone actually took and they installed a bypass jack in the back for the audio source. And it works just like old school stereos, right? You'd be playing the music and it'd be playing through the speakers fine. And then if you plug in headphones, it automatically switches to that instead. So same sort of idea that we can use the built-in speaker if we wanted to. You're not gonna want to. And then if you plug in an aux cord on the back, it'll magically output to whatever speaker you have it plugged in. Now I've got a couple of little speakers here, but we're gonna do a night and day. There are a couple comparisons out there already, but I thought we would take you along and do an actual firsthand glimpse of what it takes to do this mod. There is one on Etsy you can buy that's a plug and play, which is basically what we're doing now, but we're doing the cheaper version. And we're just buying the parts off of Amazon, which cost me like $7 or something like that. And we're gonna get going. All right, so on the back here, we have this control panel. There's just 4 Phillips head screws. Might be hard to see, but that's what those are. Careful not to lose them. They will come out if you really tried, like so. So if you want to keep them safe, take them out and do so. On the inside of this panel, it's all enclosed like so, but we do have 4 more Phillips head screws that we need to take apart. So I'm going to do that real quick. All right, so we've gotten that taken apart. I should mention at this point that if you're going to do this, you are essentially voiding your warranty. So make sure yours works first in every other aspect. There have been reports of the Ultra Skelly acting a little mischievous, not working properly in some cases, and lights not working here and there, that sort of thing. It is kind of got a sticky little seal under here, just to kind of give you an idea. The one thing though is we are going to be drilling a hole in here, and to do that, well, it's going to be pretty obvious that you opened this thing up. All right, so the next step we've got to do, we need to take out this board. So we've got 4 more little screws. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And in order to pull the back off, you have to take this knob off. So you just pull that straight off and then kind of feed your power button through a little bit. It does have kind of a sponge to it, but the button does stick inside it, this big round thing. So you do have to do that, but eventually the whole board will just pop out just like so. And then this is what we're going to drill our hole in a little bit, but we're going to wait on that for the moment. Let's go ahead and get our instructions pulled up. One of these wires, I believe it's this one right here, is the wire that we've got to get into, but we're going to go double check that real quick. It does say SP on it right there, so that is my guess. We're just going to double check the instructions and see what we can do. Alrighty, we've got our instructions pulled up, but we do need a couple of things. We need a jack, so here's a package of 10. These are mono jacks, but they're an inline switched version. So we'll take these apart and I'm just going to show you. It's just basically, you know, in effect, a headphone jack, just like so. And when you plug it in, you can see there's a little metal tab right there. It might be really hard to see, but this tiny little metal tab right here, when you plug something in, I don't know if you can see, but that actually loses contact. So that's kind of how this works around that plugging in bypasses the internal speaker thing. And the other thing we need is some wires with plugs on them. Now you can cut the speaker wire per the instructions. You are able to cut the speaker wire and splice into that, but you would need to have extra wire to then solder in. In our case, we are actually going to replace the plug. It is this kind of plug right here, very hard to see again and make out, but I will leave a link in the description that has all of these things in here. It's very similar to a cordless phone battery, that sort of thing. So we've got these, we've got our inline, so this is basically going to go something and something, and I think we need a couple of pigtails, but fortunately we have a whole bunch of this stuff, so we can just cut off any wire we need, and we're going to solder. The instructions do say that you can use some wire connectors. They actually reference some Wagyu lever connectors, which would be great. I don't have any, and I don't think I'd have any that would really get down that small, but if you have access to those would be great. So we are looking on the instructions. I'm going to show you real quick what I'm seeing, but it's going to be probably hard to make out because you're a screen of a screen. But again, I will leave a link in the description below. However, it is a Google Doc, so permissions may be a thing, but I will leave a link both to the post in the Facebook group. So if you're not a member of the group, you can actually join that group from there. But either way, I'll leave links to everything I'm using down below, and then hopefully you can find it from there. But hopefully this helps. So let's show you what this picture looks like here. So you can see we have a link to all of the parts that they can use, and then we have the instructions. So here's the back part. It actually just says, you know, the bottom right screw is pretty deep. Make sure you've got an appropriate bit. In my case, I was just using a pretty small screwdriver that came with a TV mount or something at one point. Here's the back side, the 4 screws there. So yes, we are looking for that 2-pin connector. And that's what we are going to replace ours in. So we need to scrape off some hot glue that's on it, and then we're going to pull that connector out. That connector goes to the speaker, and then this is how we are going to wire this diagram. So here is the jack itself, and it's really hard to see on the back of these, but there are 3 tabs. So there's a 1, 2, 3. Those tabs correspond with that, I believe. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, so this is the back side, back view of it. So there we go. We've got the tip on the left, switch on the top, and the sleeve on the right. And then basically we're just going to kind of mirror that down here. So 12 o'clock is the switch, which up here is the switch. 9 o'clock is the tip, which is the wiring from the board. And that is basically the plus side from our thing. And I know I'm kind of rambling. I'm trying to figure this out as we go because I haven't done this yet before. So this is going to come from our circuit board. And if we scroll back up to here, this is going to plug in, and we're going to replace these with this plus and white right here. So this is going to go to this part on the jack, and then this is going to basically come over to the other side, and then we're going to basically piggyback the speaker wire. Sorry for the glare of the lights, by the way. Piggyback the speaker wire negative over as well, and then the positive of the speaker goes to this one here. So it's really not that bad once you kind of get it in your head. We need to go take a peek and see what we can do here. All right, so here's our board here. And again, we just want to get rid of some of this hot glue that's holding this particular plug-in. So be very careful if you're using a knife, as I am, totally being careful. You will need to pry this away, this hot glue out of the way, like so we can then unplug our speakers. So here is our speaker wire. Yay, just like so. And here is our speaker plug, and that's just going to go right back in there, just like so. Now, we are going to cut the end off of this. However, we need to make sure that we know which one is which. Now, the plug goes like this, just like the one we have. So the negative is on this side, the black wire is on this side, which is this wire right here. So I'm going to go get a Sharpie, and we're going to mark that so we know what it is. So we have our Sharpie. This is our negative speaker wire right there. All right, now that we've got that marked, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cut the plug off the end of this, leaving as much wire as we can, and we're probably going to need to strip this back. But for now, let me go get that cut off. So just to make it a little bit easier on myself, I did cut off the plug of another pair of leads. There we go, we're getting some warmth in there. They are pre-tinned, so this should solder pretty quickly. Not a big deal there, but I am going to go ahead and solder these together, and then we're going to see how that goes. And right now I'm really wishing I had a pair of those helping hands things, because this might get interesting trying to do this. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and throw some heat shrink on now that we've got everything in place. And then I guess we'll use our rework gun and shrink this stuff into place here. All right, so now we got plenty of wire on here. We're going to need to re-tin these. They're not very receptive to my solder as much as that would go. So we're going to go ahead and we got to figure out what's got to go where. So let's go back and reference our diagram one more time. All right, so I've laid down my skeleton. I've just put a little stool under him, mainly so I've got room that I can solder the positive and negative leads from the original speaker wire to the jack. So we have our plug. This is going to go on the board, and the positive out of the board is going to come to the position over here, the 9 o'clock position, as we're holding the jack facing away. So that's going to go there. We're going to solder that in place there. The negatives, we're going to take the negative off of our board and the negative from our speaker, hook them together, and they're going to go in this side over here. And then the positive from the speaker into the Skelly itself is going to go there like so. So that's basically how they're going to get wired up. I'm going to go ahead and do the soldering off camera because I suck at it and there's no point in you watching that. But that's how you're going to have it wired. So plug from the board to the 9 o'clock for positive, 3 o'clock for negative, tied in with the negative from the speaker. And then the positive from the speaker is going to come here. Obviously, I need to strip that wire, but you kind of get the idea of how that's going to go. And like I said, I had the extra on here because when this comes in like this, the plug wire is only going to be so long, and I want to have enough room and make sure I can route this plug over to where that jack is going to be, which is going to be on the top side of this. So let me get this all soldered together, and then we'll start the reassembly. All right, so we've got our wiring done. It's over here dangling like this. But we still need to put our jack. This is an extra. We're going to use it to space it. We need to put this jack over in here, and we need to make sure that we have enough room to put the nut on the back of it. So we kind of have to, kind of fiddle with this where it's going. Now the picture that he had, he put his right next to this Bluetooth thing, and granted we have all this hot glue in here. We had all that hot glue in there, so you can see on the inside of this, right here is where he had it. Now this is a thick plastic. That's one of the thinnest places you can get is right there. And he did have to Dremel out a little bit so the threads of this would fit all the way through. But we're going to go ahead and find a drill bit, and we're going to drill a hole right smack dab there to put our jack through. So I'll be right back once I've gotten a drill. Now this is going to be a 1/4 inch drill bit size. That is what matches up perfectly with these little jacks. I don't know how well we're going to be able to get this in there, at least freehand. If you're doing this the right way, you'd probably want to pre-mark a hole. So why don't we do that? Let's find our razor blade that was just dangling up here in Mr. Skeleton. And we're just going to score a hole right where we're going to want this to go. Sure, right around in there looks good. Probably better tools to do this with, but for now, that'll work. So we're going to go ahead and all right, here goes nothing. Don't hit your fingers, by the way. Then we're just going to take our razor blade, just kind of clean out the hole a little bit, deburr it, if you will, so that way it's a nice clean hole, something like that. Now, again, he did mention that the plastic is a little too thick, and what he means by that is by the time you get this in here, there is really not a lot of thread sticking out the other side in order to tighten this sucker into place. So what we're going to have to do is exactly what he did, and that is we're just going to take a Dremel, and we're just going to hollow that out, assuming I can find my Dremel, so we can hollow this out. So we've got our Dremel, and all we're going to do is we're just going to kind of score it a little bit. It is pretty tight in these quarters, so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. And I mean, you've already cut a hole in the thing, so what's a little bit more, right? But I don't dare go much further than that. So let's put this down and see if that got us any further. Looks like all right, so still not quite there yet. This lip right here, that lip is what's catching us. So back to the Dremel we go. Also, watch out for molten plastic. All right, let's hollow out our hole one more time because that did do a number on our hole there. And one more time with our test fitting jack. And there we go. We should have enough on there now to be able to put the lock ring on and thread it into place once we have everything where it needs to go. Just like that. So that's what we're going to end up with. Now we just need to do the same thing over here. We just need to hook the jack up here, reroute all our wires. We may need to notch in here. I'm not sure yet. We'll figure that out when we get there. All right, so we just have to take the nut off the end of our jack, like so. Feed our jack into the hole, like so. Put the nut back on, which is always easier said than done when you're talking with something this tiny. There we go. There we go. So now our plug is back in there. We can go ahead and we can set our control board back in place like so. All right, so we've got that in there right where it needs to be. So we're going to go ahead and get our screws, put them back in. Perfect. So now we have our control board in there. We can go ahead and plug in our speaker just like so. Nope, upside down. Plug in our speaker just like so. Now, the trickier part of this is going to be feeding all of these wires back through here, because they all do fit into this tiny little notch right here. So when you go ahead and put this back on, I think it was, I guess it doesn't really matter which way, but you've got to make sure that you've got all of your wires kind of squished into place through that back corner, just like so. So we've got that in there. Let's go ahead and get these screwed in too. Let's go ahead and get this one in. Then I kind of want to get this opposite corner in, and this is the corner that's holding everything open here. So let's see if this one will go in and seat as well. Seems like it's drawn in. Okay, we're going to leave that one just a hair loose until we've got this side in. That way we're not over stressing everything, because this one certainly is not seated all the way down. But there we go. I think we've got a thread. There we go. Now we can go ahead and get this last screw in. Just like that. And then go ahead and put her back in. Oops. I missed a wire over here. There we go. Just like so. Let's go get our screws, get this thing back in. We're almost done. And just like that, we're back together. We're going to go ahead and plug the power back in. Well, he certainly works. He just moved on me. Okay, the last thing we need to do is put our knob back on our volume. So we're just going to go ahead and turn the volume all the way to the left. Turn the knob all the way to the left. Perfect. So we've got the skeleton, we've got my app. I am going to turn off the one sound that I had made, and we're just going to go with the default sounds, and we're going to play these, and I'm going to just stand right here. I am 6 feet away from him, and I'm going to do this a couple times. I'm going to do it at like a low volume, then full volume, both standing in the same place. And this is the built-in speaker. And then we're going to go find an aux cord. We're going to plug in an external speaker, and we're going to see how much of a difference this really does make. It's crazy. All right, so real quick, there's about 1/3 volume right there. Coming back over. So there's 1/3. So there's 1/3 volume. We're over here, and here we go. All right, so that was 1/3 volume. Now I'm going to just crank it. And we're still not that far away. Like I said, 6 feet away. Same sound. Here we go.
Step into the shadows and enter my realm of the dead. May your night be filled with spooktacular thrills and chills.
Now, as you can see, it is very tinny. Very, very high-pitched sound, no depth at all, no nothing. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna use one of these speakers. This is a speaker I normally use for my haunted house. I have a bunch of these little things. They're Lenru speakers. They're like 15, 20, 25 bucks on Amazon. But I use them because they have a trans flash card, a micro SD card slot on the back, and I use that for my sound usually. But we're gonna take that sound file out right here. So I'm gonna find a dedicated aux cord. We're gonna go right to the back of this speaker, and we're just gonna set it somewhere on the speaker, still stand that same 6 feet away, and see how much of a difference it makes with a real speaker compared to, well, this thing. All right, so we're back with an aux cord and our speaker. We're gonna plug that in, turn this on, and I guess we'll just have him hold it. Seems fair enough. Now, the speaker does go up. That's as far as the speaker goes. Now we're going to plug it in. Now I don't know if this worked, and we won't know until we turn this on. But let's turn this back down to a third, right where it was before. And then let's go ahead and pull our app up and see what happens. Let me get behind the camera. That's where I took the first ones. We want to make sure we are on a level playing field. Okay, same sound, third volume.
Step into the shadows and enter my realm of the dead. May your night be filled with spooktacular thrills and...
Alrighty, so it's already sounding better there. I kind of wanted to have it a little bit farther, but let's crank it. Cranked all the way. Still 6 feet away. Let's see what it does.
Step into the shadows and enter my realm of the dead. May your night be filled with spooktacular thrills and chills.
So what I'm going to do real quick, last test just for fun, I'm going to hit play. We're on full volume through the speaker, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull the jack out of the skeleton, and we're going to see if in fact it does switch back to the chintzy little speaker. Now I'm going to do this one standing right next to it, so I guess I'll stand here to give it kind of the best of both worlds. So here we go.
Step into the shadows and enter my realm of the dead. May your night be filled with spooktacular thrills and chills.
So as you can see, having a dedicated speaker jack and an amplified speaker, or at least a better speaker, is a marked improvement over the one that's sitting in his chest in here. Now you can go crazy, you can get bigger, more amplified speakers if you wanted to have this thing really shouting or really screaming a rock song at you. There are other hacks out there for this guy. There's a GitHub IO that some people have been working on to kind of get around the limitations of the 30-second clips, or to run dedicated MP3 files and all that fun stuff. There's a lot of fun you can do, but I haven't tried any of those, so we can't show you those. But for now, we did get their speaker working. Thanks for watching. Take care. Happy Halloween, everybody.